whoa, like holy shit. So that was good. That was good timing on our part for sure. But it is odd, right? It was a little weird. I felt like I was doing something wrong.
We have everything recorded. You're good.
We're all on. Everything's on right now.
Okay. I got to double check with my boy here.
Believe me, I appreciate it now. I have to tell you, this week at school was the first week that we were allowed. The masks were optional. So all week, obviously I'm not wearing a mask, but all week I feel like I'm doing something wrong.
Yeah.
Like any minute the superintendent's going to walk in and be like, you don't have a mask on. I was still, so that's how it is. Like, anyway, with us doing it last week, I felt like I was doing something wrong. Like I was breaking the rules, but you know what?
No, I totally
they all
agree,
take off from time to time. So it's okay.
Our office, we did it like a year ago. And
really?
Like the first week too was like, oh shit, I got to go the whole, oh no, I don't need it anymore. Like, so I get it.
You feel like you're breaking the rules. I still do, but anyway. What's up, everybody, and welcome to Bump and Run. I'm Pete Colasano, joined as always by my good friend Scott Bracey. What is going on, dude? And that is an understatement of a question if there ever was one. Holy shit!
After a week off, the NFL news is coming aplenty.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I was thinking we were going to open with, wow, for the first time in 57 weeks, we took a week off, which I felt quite uncomfortable with. But boy, was our timing, as usual, for other reasons usually, but as usual, our timing was perfect because there wasn't shit to talk about last week. Like, we would have been pulling stuff out of our ass to find things to talk about. And this week, I think we're going to need 6, maybe 7 hours to get everything in. Like, it's just all hell broke loose between Tuesday and Wednesday. And there's just a ton of stuff to talk about. It's funny. Somebody at work was asking me, like, is this the slow time of year? I'm like, this is the best time of year.
Yep.
Like, when there's games, it's good, but you're just talking about what happened as opposed to, like, what's possible. When you get these options of, like, oh, he can go here and he can go there and he's going to go there. And what were the trades? It's like the endless possibilities. And some of those possibilities were brought to fruition this week. So that's what we're going to get into. Obviously, the biggest story of the week, maybe of 2022 when it comes to the NFL so far, is the fact that your Denver Broncos got Aaron. Oh, wait, no. Although we were talking about it for about a year now, almost, Aaron Rodgers going to Denver. No, and a big surprise, they pull off the big trade for Russell Wilson. So Denver gave up what? 2 1s, 2 2s, 2 players. Is it 2 players?
2 1s this 2 1s this year, next year, 2 2s this year, next year. We still have a 2 this year, which is huge.
It's nice.
Noah Fant, who's a tight end, and we have a replacement for him already on the roster. Shelby Harris, defensive end / nose defensive tackle, will hurt a lot, but I think there's a free agent or 2 out there, and I trust their drafting. George Payton's been really good in the draft last year and his moves this year, and Drew Lock, which obviously that's no loss if you're getting Russell Wilson back.
Balls.
So
I wanted to ask you before we even get into Russell Wilson on Denver, can you give us an idea of those 2 players specifically? Drew Lock is whatever. They had to throw somebody back in there just as a possible starter if they can't find somebody, which we'll get into what's possible. But Noah Fant and Shelby Harris, like, if you could tell us a little bit about them.
Well, yeah, Noah Fant was drafted first round 2 years ago out of Iowa, tight end.
Oh, right. Okay, I do remember
him and TJ Hawkinson.
Yeah.
2 Iowa guys are both drafted in the
incredible
in the same round, same year, which is bananas.
Really?
Good player, had a really good rookie year. Injuries a little bit bit him in the ass, and also the inconsistency of quarterback play really hurt him.
Yeah.
So it would have been really nice to see what he would have looked like with Wilson, but obviously you can't have it all. You got to give something away. And Shelby Harris was I believe a second-year player who was a low draft pick who really started to show up last year with Von Miller getting traded and Bradley Chubb always hurt. He was a really good player, so Seattle's going to get a really good player there, young and cheap right now. And Drew Lock obviously is just you were never high on him. I still think there's something there. Now I don't give a shit at all anymore, obviously.
No, you got nothing to worry about.
And I don't know if he will be Seattle's starter or backup or what they have planned for him, but that's the info and the detail that I got on that.
Well, I'm hearing that there's other things in the works for Seattle moving forward at quarterback. So we'll get to that in a minute. But what's interesting to me about the Fant, however the hell you say his name.
Yeah.
If you really look at Russell Wilson's time in Seattle, he doesn't really throw. He's not really big with the tight ends.
That's true.
I think that has a lot to do with the fact that he's a shorter quarterback. If you notice around the league when it comes to shorter quarterbacks, they're not always so great with throwing intermediate passes over the middle, and which makes total sense because that's not their easiest line of sight, right? It's hard for someone who's shorter, and Russell Wilson might be 6 feet tall. I don't even know if he is. It's really hard for them to see that 10 to 15 yard middle of the field area because it's hard to see over the line. Down the field, out in the flat, out in the outside of the numbers, they can see it. But if you look, I'm trying to think of what was the dude that came to Seattle from the Saints.
Jimmy
Graham, who was
I was thinking the same thing when you said it, and he
never really panned out for him in Seattle.
He didn't really do great in Green Bay with Rodgers either.
He did not, so that is a little indictment on him, to be sure. You're absolutely right. But I just thought it was curious that they got Fant back because to me it's like, well, Russell Wilson was never a big throw to the tight end guy anyway.
If you rewind this a year ago, almost, we were both high on Gerald Everett from the Rams going to Seattle. We thought he was really going to help him out.
And it wasn't.
And not even. I think he caught 30 balls maybe.
Yeah, you make a great point. I didn't even think of that. You make a really good point there. So good for you for even remembering that.
Thanks, bro.
I think what's the huge deal here is that they didn't really give up anything on offense. Like the question when we were talking about Aaron Rodgers coming, and it's the same questions. Whoever the starter would be, like a big name starter. Like so, when Russell Wilson comes, you're going to give up a shit ton of picks and stuff. Man, are those weapons still going to be there when the guy gets here? You figured whoever was going back, in the trade, and it didn't happen.
Yeah.
And I think this is a masterful job. Now, maybe it's because you're trading with Seattle and he's a defensive guy, and maybe they're looking to start over more than Green Bay was looking to start over. But as far as the offensive side of the ball, you lose basically nothing.
So when I first
just gained one of the top. I had my issues with Russell Wilson the last couple of years, and especially this past season. So I'm a little reluctant to put him in a top 5, but he's certainly very, very good. A top quarterback, a Super Bowl quarterback, and light years better than anything you had there the last couple of years. Correct. So it's to me, that's why I had said to you in text, like, I know it's a lot, but it's a steal because now Seattle doesn't have a quarterback and your entire offense more or less is intact with a quarterback.
Well,
an elite quarterback.
The only pick that really matters, in my opinion, is this year's number 9. Because hopefully next year you're picking later in the 20s. It doesn't matter. And then your second pick's going to be in the high 50s. Right. And if I trust this front office now, as I do with the scouting and the drafting, you could hopefully find some steals later on. And listen, you're not getting a Russell Wilson at 9 anyway.
You're not getting Russell Wilson at 9. And see, this is like, we talk all the time whether it's like the Jets or Miami or I'm thinking like teams that are Houston. Oh, don't you want a Russell Wilson? No, because I need so much more than Russell Wilson. I need those picks. Like that Houston needs the picks. Jets, Jags,
Philly,
Giants, even the Giants. You need those picks. You're terrible. You're a bad football team. You need picks. Denver is as complete. I mean, how many times do we say this year? This is as complete a team as there is in the NFL, sans quarterback. Like this was as complete a team as there was without that great starting quarterback. And there's an argument to be made that now they may have potentially the best team in the NFL from top to bottom. Not that they're the most explosive or whatever, but they're as complete as there is now in the league because they have a Russell Wilson. And that's why you're willing to make that trade. You don't have a first-round pick for the next 2 years. Who gives a shit? You don't need a first-round pick for the next 2 years. You just, you have Russell Wilson. You have an elite quarterback at that position that you've been desperate for since Peyton Manning left. Correct. So yes, it's a lot, but no, it's not a lot. And I say to people like, someone at work said, "But they gave up a shit ton," and I'm like, "Who's going to have a better record this year?" I mean, it's not even close.
Yeah.
It's not even really close. At worst, Denver's going to have 10 wins. At best, Seattle might have 6. Now, if they make other moves that are out there and talked about, who knows? But right now, as currently constituted before the draft, they're a 5 or 6 win team. I mean, they were a 5 or 6 win team last year. with Russell Wilson.
It's a comment on what the Broncos gave up also. Me and my buddy Tony were going back and forth because he's a Bronco fan as well. He heard Javonte Williams in the deal, and I was like, oh, Christ, I don't want to do that. Like,
right.
But then they didn't, and then you texted Fant, and then so you got to think that Seattle probably started with Williams and Surtain, right? And then they probably went back and forth with like.
I would think that's where it was starting. I guess it was a hard no.
Yeah, those two players are off the board, and then go from there. But
see, you also don't know what Seattle's motivation was.
I know, dude, that's it. Like, and Pete Carroll, bro, 70 years old, they're going to start over.
Well, that's what Belichick has done. So.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Right, in a way, yeah, that's fair.
He's not an old 70. Nick Saban
true.
is 69 years old. The guy barely looks like he's 55. I think I look older than Nick Saban, for Christ's sake. And I don't have $100 million in my back pocket. So,
that's why.
But at the same time, Parcells, I think, was retired and finished in his mid 60s.
Yeah, I think
but he was a disaster.
Yeah.
He was a broken guy.
Yeah.
So, it depends. And I don't look at Pete Carroll as like finished. He's very active, very fit. He does this whole thing. But it is a curious situation because you just look, for 2 years, you don't have a first round pick. Yeah, but what are you looking for in that first round pick? You're looking for a star as a starter. And if you don't have a quarterback, you're looking for a quarterback as a star, as a starter. Well, you have that now. And you already have stars at wide receiver. And you already have a pretty good offensive line. You already have good running backs. And you already have a good defense. Now, losing Harris is going to hurt, but I'd sure rather be in the business of trying to replace a defensive tackle than trying to replace, trying to get a starting quarterback. They just look around the league, man.
Yeah.
To give you an idea, and we'll get to the Commanders in a little bit, in a couple minutes. The Washington Commanders were so desperate for a quarterback, they literally contacted every fucking team in the NFL. They called every team to see if there was some deal that could be made for who they got. So that just goes to show you how important the position is, and knowing that you could have the best team in the league, and if you just don't have a quarterback, you don't have a team.
If you're Heineke, you gotta be like, dude, what the fuck? Like,
well,
I'm not that bad.
They didn't win enough games last year.
They did not, but remember, they lost their whole defensive line at some point.
They had other issues, that's for sure.
They had a ton of issues. Yeah. They had a ton of issues there.
And as we've well documented, that was the worst division in the NFL last year, regardless of what. Yeah, you might want to listen to the rest of this podcast because we may have a retort to Mike Dean over at Dean Dome Sports, who made the absurd notion on his podcast that somehow the NFC East wasn't the worst division in football last year, which of course everyone agrees it was. But he's an Eagles fan, and you know how that the bias comes in. So it's totally normal and understandable.
He does make a good point with the Texans and the Jaguars in the same division.
He does, but I'm going to counter that point.
Yeah, but the Titans had the 1 seed, and the Colts should have been in the playoffs too. So I understand. I got you. You don't have to. I got it for you, bro. Teammates stick together, bro. Come on.
We'll get there. So yeah, it'll be interesting to me to see. Obviously, everybody. You're going to look at. Well, all right. Look at it this way. We had questions with the Rams and Matt Stafford whether or not, listen, it's his first year there. There's got to be a warming up period. I don't know. Apparently, there didn't have to be with them. They go right to the Super Bowl and win, so good for them.
Well, dude, also, every button they pushed was right. Yes. I mean, that's rare. As
we mentioned, if they stayed healthy, then great. If they had any injuries, they were screwed. I actually think Denver's in a better position as far as depth on the team.
100%.
I think they're way deeper than the Rams were, so they could sustain some injuries better.
And they still have some cash.
And you got a new head coach, an offensive-minded head coach.
Finally.
Some cash. It's a huge move for
Denver.
Fun.
It's going to be fun.
You have to be thrilled. I mean, you have to be thrilled.
I am.
Christ.
But I was getting texts out of out of everywhere Tuesday, Wednesday. I am very excited. I see it being at least 3 years, maybe 4 good years out of him. You get a little nervous when he starts breaking down. You got to keep him up right. You're getting sacked 40 times in Seattle.
Yeah, he's 32 years old. We know he takes care of himself. Guy came back from a thumb surgery or finger hand surgery or whatever the hell he did last year in 4 weeks, which was crazy.
And got better every week that went on.
Yeah, and he shows you his dedication. The guy loves playing football. He is great. He's a great leader. There are some holes in his game, but who doesn't?
Right.
But I just look and I say, boy, he must be thrilled too because he had some complaints about offensive line. And I disagree with some of the complaints about weapons. I think they do have some pretty decent offensive weapons over in Seattle. But he definitely does with Denver, and it'll be interesting. The one downside, and there's nothing you could do as a Denver fan or as Denver itself, but what's interesting for him or anyone looking at this is you're talking about a division that now has Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, who's so good that the team didn't make the playoffs last year. But that's just like, I mean, he's great. Let's remember they didn't make the playoffs last year. Derek Carr, who I am very high on as you are, and I think you actually came around, maybe not as much as me, but you came around, who now may be the fourth best quarterback in a 4-team division, and Russell Wilson with Denver. Like, he went from the NFC West, which was probably the best division in football, to now the AFC West, which is it's a no-brainer that
it might have just flipped. Yeah.
Oh my God. So on that side of it, it's like, well, that kind of sucks. That you go to that division, you're playing those teams, and those teams will beat the shit out of each other.
But you know what's great about that too? Like from a fan standpoint, he didn't back down on it. Like he waived the trade, no problem.
And look what that did for the Rams. You can say like the strongest steel is forged in the hottest fire. So like yes, you have the hardest schedule because of your own division, but at the same time, if you're a good team and you make it through that division, well, you've faced the heat all season. You faced some of the best teams in the league all season, and you made it through. It obviously can serve you very well if you work it that way. So that's kind of big. Before that, we thought the biggest news of the week was going to be this, but it turned out, Russell, the Seahawks changed all that with that trade. Aaron Rodgers signs with the Green Bay Packers. He'll be staying in Green Bay. He'll be, I don't know if it's been finalized. It looks like it has been 5 years, basically 2 years, 200. I'm sorry. I take that back. 4 years, 200 million, 50 million a year on average. About 150 million of it, give or take a couple bucks, is guaranteed. Well, you tell me your thoughts on this. This is a team that, by the way, coming into the offseason was $27 million over salary cap.
Number one, I'm glad it's over.
I agree.
First and foremost, holy shit.
But that doesn't mean the hate for Aaron Rodgers can stop.
As it shouldn't, to be honest with you. I think it actually gets worse because he is such a drama queen baby bitch with this whole thing. God. He knew
he's turning into Jeff George, except winning more football games.
He knew what he was doing all along.
Yeah. I think so.
I wish we had a fly on the wall in the Green Bay's front office, like how frustrated they were getting with this. Because you got to think, as me and you, as intelligent sports people, they're probably maybe a day away from going, do whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah.
You got to think that way, right? I mean, it's just...
Sure. Oh. Yeah, at some point you get tired of it, right?
Absolutely.
Like, we don't get tired of it because we do get tired of it, but it also at the same time gives us content, gives us something to talk about, which is great. But yeah, it's like, it's like that student you have in your class that, continuously is like throwing pencils into the ceiling, like, or pulling on a girl's hair, or doing like, it's like, okay, at some point, can you know enough's enough, or just get the hell out of here? Like, just
the
one
that keeps asking questions. Do we have homework this weekend?
Right?
Are we gonna do that? Oh,
yeah. It's like, come on. And the 50 mil a year part. I know. Pete, you're going to talk about the salary cap, right? I'm going to talk about the salary cap. So now you're going to give Aaron Rodgers, which I'm sure the first year is probably more like 45 million, and it'll escalate after that. So you're going to give him 45 million, and you're going to give Devontae Adams, 22 million, because he's going to be franchise tag. So it's going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of 22 million. Let's just call it 22.
God,
so between two guys, you're spending
a third of your salary cap,
$67 million. No, it's a little more than that. It's almost 30% of your salary cap. You have 50 other guys to pay. That's what I don't care. I don't care about the money per se, because it's not coming out of my pocket. What the hell do I care? But it's the idea of building a team. And I have a lot of faith in Green Bay when it comes to this stuff. This is not a team that does things, flies by the seat of their pants and makes like outrageous reaches on free agents and stuff like that. They're very methodical. They have a plan. It's a lot of money for one player. And let's just keep this in mind. I'm not trying to say that Aaron Rodgers isn't great. I mean, he's as talented as they come. He's a great player. They win a shitload of games in a regular season. but you haven't won a Super Bowl in 11 years, and you haven't even been to one in 11 years. And this past year, once again in the playoffs, you come up very short and very small in big spots. It just is what it is, man. And at some point, the investment has to be, paid off. And that's why I say, is the juice worth the squeeze? Look at you with your orange shirt, squeezing that juice. Yeah, I get it. What's the alternative? Well, the alternative could be finding out if Jordan Love is your guy or making a move for somebody else.
Clearly, he is not.
Apparently not, and that's why it seems a little desperate. But this is also when we were just saying, like, will the hate continue? Well, God forbid a season like this happens again where you get bounced in your first playoff game. You're going to get eviscerated, dude. That's what comes with $50 million.
Yep.
When the next closest guy on your team is making less than half of what you're making, the criticism comes with it. And then what happens then? At the end of next season, we're gonna hear the bitching and moaning again. Is he gonna be rubbing his hands in crystals in California? Like that's where I start to say, like you're saying, at one point do you just say enough's enough?
Right.
You know what I mean? If you're winning Super Bowls, no, if it's Tom Brady, imagine. Let's look at it this way. Imagine for the last 20 years, Tom Brady was a real douchebag with New England. Like, he was a cocky motherfucker, and he was always like talking shit, and he was always complaining about Belichick, and he's calling Belichick like a fat bastard who doesn't know how to get wide receivers and all this shit. But you won 6 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
Like, you deal with it, right? You're like, well, fuck it. Maybe right. I need to go on a diet. And you figure out a way to deal with that. That's not the case here. This is not the case. You've actually, if you really look at the last decade, it's been more disappointment than satisfaction when it comes to Green Bay. And that lays, I'm sorry, you get paid the most. That lays almost solely at the feet of your quarterback, which is Aaron Rodgers. So
that Super Bowl was so long ago now.
11 years.
Look at the guys who won Super Bowls. Nick Foles won a Super Bowl before he did again.
Yeah. Eli Manning won 2 of them.
Well, one.
One after.
One before and one after. One was 07 and one was the year after.
And that guy's not even in the league anymore. Thank God. Sorry, Giants fans.
What's your issue with Eli?
He just was not good. He had 2 stretches in his career where he played out of his gourd, and the rest of his career is pretty much average to below average.
I got some Giant fans that are going to love that quote, and some Giant fans that are going to hate that quote.
Well, happens to be true.
That's how down the middle he is.
It happens to be true. Yeah. And I get loving him because you got 2 Super Bowls. I wish I had 2 Jets.
And look, and that's another example of the Giants haven't done anything since either. Oh, you froze on me. What's going on here? Peter has frozen on us here, so I'm going to try to keep us rolling. But, yeah, Eli, the Giants have done nothing since McAdoo. Oh, okay. There he is. There he is. Yeah, so the Giants have done nothing since Eli's left either. So that's true.
So that's what I'm saying. I get the love. Yeah, I understand. Yeah. And like I said, I was saying before,
McAdoo, Shermer, dude.
Who's this last guy again? I already forgot him.
Judge.
Joe Judge. He might be the craziest of all.
They've had 4 coaches since Eli's retired. That's bananas.
Eli still stinks. Except for 2 really nice stretches. He's got a 500 record. His career record, I think, is 1 game below 500.
I think it's right at 50-50 because they didn't. I don't think they played him the last game.
He's not that good. He's not that good. But he had these. You know what he is, dude? He's Nick Foles twice.
Fair.
He's Nick Foles.
Wow, he had a better career role.
Get out of here. It's Nick Foles twice. Don't steal my thunder.
Oh, for Christ.
Speaking of Nick Foles, more news out of the NFL with quarterbacks moving. This one is a bit of a – I was a little surprised on multiple reasons. Carson Wentz ends up with the Commanders, which I can't stand saying.
Well done.
Yeah. It almost like I want to throw up on my mouth a little bit every time. I just want to say Washington.
It's so bad. I just want to say Redskins.
It's such a bad name. It's such a – come on. Dude, you can't even – it takes your breath away, and not in a good way. Like a hot chick takes your breath away. You're like, oh. This takes your breath away because you want to throw up a little bit. You can't even say it.
I want to know the people that they threw this name by before they agreed on this because
it's bad. It's bad. What are the odds that they change it within the next 5 years?
Oh,
You think they're gonna stick with this?
I got the under. I'll bet money on that.
It's so bad. Anyway, Carson Wentz ends up getting traded to the Washington football team. I like the football team better than I like the guy.
And what does that tell you?
Jesus Christ. For what did he give up? Two twos?
Two thirds
Third-round picks.
And they took all the money. The Colts were probably dancing in
It's
there.
$28 million. They're paying him the full 28.
That's
Commanders.
bananas.
How desperate. This is what I mean about being desperate for a quarterback.
I know.
It's just the league, man. It's offense and quarterbacks. That's it. It does. The rest doesn't even it doesn't. So, okay, I'm going to say this flat out. I'm rooting for Carson Wentz for the same reason I'm rooting for Jared Goff. I think we forget sometimes how hard it is to play in this league. Okay, it's really friggin' hard. Carson Wentz was an ACL tear away from being an MVP and potentially going to a Super Bowl himself. Because at the time with the Eagles, he wasn't a mental case yet.
No,
he was.
They were rolling when he was there.
To be a guy in the league. They loved him. He was doing everything right. He wasn't making these insane mistakes that he's made over the last couple of years. High school, second-rate quarterback mistakes. God bless you. But I see the talent and I see the ability. And it's the same how I feel like with Jared Goff. Like, I root for Jared Goff because I'm like, we bashed the shit out of these guys. The guy was in the Super Bowl. You can say what you want about him, but he went to a Super Bowl. Bad quarterbacks don't go to Super Bowls. So I'm rooting for him. It's hard to defend him. I'm rooting for him.
Does how it ended in Indianapolis change your thought on that at all?
Change my thought on rooting for him or change my thought on thinking he's a good quarterback?
Both. You could still root. All right. You like a guy, and what you just described, I understand where you're coming from. However, he didn't have a horrible year. I think he threw 27 touchdowns.
He had
and only
bad
7
moments.
Picks.
Yeah,
he had really bad moments on prime TV, time TV moments, and you're playing the Jaguars to go to the playoffs, and you choke your ass off.
Play terrible.
The Jaguars
the whole team played terrible, but it doesn't matter.
That game, and they're still picking first. What the fuck?
See, here's what scares me the most about Carson Wentz. It seemed like, a beautiful marriage with him going to the Colts because you get reunited with what many thought was the guy who made you who you are, Frank Reich. And it made sense for Reich because, Wentz was kind of the guy that helped you make your name as a coach and might be why you got the head coaching job besides winning the Super Bowl, obviously, with the Colts. So it seemed like a match made in heaven. And he gave up on you after 1 year.
Yeah.
Not 2. He didn't even bother giving you a second chance.
1
year with the guy who we all thought was in love with you. And he already shipped you out the door for 2 third-round picks.
And he can't fix you? That's
what scares me.
Yep.
And I look at Washington and I say, this looks desperate because his favorite coach bailed on him after 1 season.
Yeah.
Without something else in place.
They're
blind right now, and they gave up on him.
You know what this screams to me, and it's ironic that he's now on the Washington Commanders? Is Ron Rivera didn't want Cam after all those years in Carolina.
For sure.
He knew something. Now Frank Reich didn't want him anymore either. That's a big.
This is why it seems desperate.
It's definitely desperate.
If it was the Colts, if the Colts were getting back a first-round pick, I'd get it more of like, wow, it's hard to pass that up. If you're the Colts, like a first and a second or a first and a third, it's like hard to pass that up because he wasn't so good. But 2 third-round picks, dude, you could get it's hard to get a backup quarterback for 2 third-round picks. Like, I just think it's nothing for a starting quarterback in the NFL. It smacks of desperation not in value because I don't think they gave up that much. It just smacks of desperation. No, that's all it took.
Correct. That's
how
the
much
phrase
to get
right
Drew
there.
Lock? Like, what would the trade be if somebody wanted? Not that anybody does, but like, I think it'd be like 2 third-round picks for Drew Lock. So like you gave up so little.
Bridgewater might be like worth more than
Seriously. This is what I'm saying. So Mike Dean from that very strange podcast called Dean Dome Sports, he mentions in his comments they should have called the Washington Sentinels. I think that would have been a pretty good name. I kind of like the idea of calling them the Hogs or the Warthogs so that they can keep the Hog thing going, but Sentinels would have been way better than Commanders. It's just bad. But yeah, we'll see what happens. I'm going to root for him. Frankly, I don't like the other teams in the AFC in the NFC East, so I'm going to root for him. And I like rooting for underdogs. I like rooting for guys who get shit on over and over again. I don't like it because people don't realize how difficult this league is. Well, how difficult pro sports are. I'm just telling you. I'll give you a quick story. I played high school basketball against James Scott. James Scott went to Eastside High School in Patterson. James Scott, and you can look this up if you want. James Scott is the only guy in the history of the McDonald's All-American game to win both the three-point contest and the slam dunk contest. In fact, after he did that, they stopped even giving you the option. You had to pick one or the other. You couldn't do both.
No kidding.
But he won both in the same season. Okay, this is how good this guy was. Goes to St. John's, plays really well, and basically ends up having like a cup of coffee with the Miami Heat. Maybe played in Europe and overseas for a couple years. This is the greatest athlete I've ever seen in person in my life.
Where did you go to college?
St. John's.
Okay.
He went to a junior college first, and then he went to St. John's. This is as good an athlete. I mean, the elevation. I got 360 dunked in my face in a playoff game. Like he's as good an athlete I've ever seen. 6'5", and he was 6'4", 6'5", and he looked small on the court against these guys. It's hard. Pro sports. I know you look at some of these guys, you're like, that guy's a bum. Trust me when I tell you that guy ain't a bum. Okay, the fact that he's even on the court or on the field is insane.
Yep.
These are the best in the world. So when I hear people say, "Well, this guy sucks," dude. Trust me, he doesn't suck.
Yeah,
it's hard.
Yeah, but you get so frustrated as a fan.
You're comparing him to Russell Wilson, comparing him to Tom Brady, and it's just tough. So that's why I root for him, because I don't like people talking like that. I don't like when I hear stuff.
I would like to know. I know it's private, but I would really like to know if he's going to a therapist or a sports doctor or something. Because
I would hope so, because that was some of the talk, right? Even within Indianapolis, he was a little off.
That's and what he's been through. He's not a great teammate, but then
which is weird because that isn't what we heard in the beginning at Philly.
A couple guys have stuck up for him, but listen,
sometimes it's just your personality.
You're not gonna like every teammate. There's no one.
Well, there's that, and then the other side of it is you miss the playoffs. You made some weird plays. You know what? If you went 14-3. And you were a little weird and off-putting, nobody gives a shit. You know what I mean? Like, they get over that stuff real quick. Aaron Rodgers is kind of an asshole, and everybody loves him because they were, 13-4 last year, whatever the hell they ended up being.
Yeah.
You'll put up with guys when you're winning ball games. When you're losing ball games, it's like, let's ship him out of here for 2 third-round picks and a bag of practice balls. So I think that's kind of what happened there. You know what I mean? But I'm just taken aback a little bit because of all people to give up on him after 1 year is Frank Reich. I think that screams. I think that screams about what's going on here. So
I know we'll get into this maybe more next week, or it'll get taken care of for us before next week. But off the top of your head, give me 2 or 3 guys you think Colts go after.
So, Jimmy G obviously comes to mind right away. If they can turn around and package those picks that they just got and maybe something else for Jimmy G. Although 2 third-round picks might do it for Jimmy G. I don't know. Maybe a second and a third.
Let me throw you a curveball.
Go ahead.
Do you think the Niners would give away Trey Lance for 2/3?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think they gave up a lot to pick him.
Yeah, that's true.
They gave up a lot to pick him. So I got to be honest, I could even see like a Jameis Winston, although Frank Reich doesn't love, turnover machines. That's probably why Carson Wentz is out of here in the first place. But Jameis Winston showed some improvement last year with New Orleans.
You don't think Nick Foles is an option, do you?
Nick Foles, of course, could be an option. Yeah. Back with the master. It's the Carson Wentz thing right there, right? It's like that's the guy who you went to the Super Bowl and won with. Right. So, yeah, sure. And he would probably come relatively cheap. Maybe you can turn one of those third-round picks and get a Nick Foles. I don't know. I just don't know because that's definitely not a long-term answer. I don't know. That's tough. It's tough to say.
I don't think they're riding with the kid they have there now from Texas, Sam Ellinger. I don't think he's.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Is Trubisky on the board for them?
I mean, you hear every team that needs a quarterback. He's on the board for all of them.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that in a little bit.
Yeah, let's hold off on that. Let's.
You know what? Why don't we? We wanted to do our AFC and NFC South look back, little post-mortem here. So let's start with the AFC South. Of course, the number one seed in the AFC came out of the AFC South, which is why it's not the worst division in football. The Tennessee Titans. They had one of the strangest seasons that you'll see, between injuries, strange losses, and unbelievable winning streaks. It was a little weird. And then not a first round exit, but a first game exit. Now, granted, that first game exit was against a team that ends up going to the Super Bowl and almost winning. But at the time, it was extremely disappointing for Tennessee to lose that game. But they're clearly the class. Now, they have issues with salary cap, and they're going to end up having to let some guys go or restructure. And I would hope that they're able to do some restructuring with Tannehill, because he should restructure. Because if anybody is the one that comes up short from time to time, it's Tannehill.
Correct.
I mean, let's just be honest. I think he's a top half quarterback, maybe like right literally in the middle of the league. I don't think he's particularly great, but I don't think he's bad either. He's not, you know what he is, dude? He's not a detriment to the team, but he can't carry the team either. That showed itself this year. They lost to the Jets. They lost to other bad teams, but yet in a stretch of games, they beat like Kansas City, Buffalo,
the Niners.
They just went crazy on a 5 or 6 game winning streak of just some of the best teams in the league. It might have been the Rams in there too. Like, I don't even know. Finding all kinds of weird ways to win, and some of them without Derrick Henry. It's like, that's why it was just very weird. It was just a weird year for them.
They got the number one. Yeah, like you said, they got the number one seed without a chunk of Derrick Henry, 8 weeks or whatever it was.
Yeah.
A little production on Julio Jones,
which we both documented before the season started. Another pat on the back.
They have a really solid defense. I wouldn't call it spectacular. It's solid. Their home field advantage is non-existent. It's not a great place to play, in my opinion.
I also think that's part of their style of play. They don't play blow you out football. They're not the kind of team. So they're always in tight games no matter what, because of their personnel. I actually think it's a pretty good home field. Like that, the place gets loud, and
I think Nashville's a fun city for sure. Yeah, but the stadium itself, though,
no, I don't disagree.
It's not built great, but you know.
Yeah. You had mentioned about the Colts. While they missed the playoffs, they should have made the playoffs. They have the same record as the Eagles, so let's not pretend like the Eagles were a real playoff team. But that's for later. Obviously, clearly a disappointment for the Colts. The fact that, first of all, would they start the season 1-5? So that didn't help.
Oof.
Right? They fell behind early. But what's so bizarre about them and this past season, here's a team that didn't make the playoffs, but literally up until the last week of the season, you and I were talking about them as potentially one of the top 5 teams in the league as far as like who could win a Super Bowl. You remember, like, how many times did we have them either in the top 5 or considered them, even though they were like a 500 team, or
don't know, because it's like
we're like this. When they play well, they are really, really good. They were loaded on defense. You know, every once in a while, Wentz would actually have a great game that ran the ball as good as anybody in the league. It's just a weird team. But at the end, it's a disappointment. You don't even have a shot at the playoffs, and all it took was beating the worst team in football in your own division, the Jags.
They might be this year's 2020-2021 Broncos. Run game's there, O-line's there, defense is there, coaching's there, although they have better coaching than we had last year. But the quarterback now is a huge question mark.
Yep. They have some shortcomings at wide receiver also.
Well, I have that written down too. They got to help out Pittman. T.Y. Hilton's shot.
He's done, yeah.
Jack Doyle just retired at tight end, so they might need something else there.
They got some issues there. But in the end, you got to get a quarterback. We'll see what they do with that. That's why I was a little surprised at this move, because they did it without looks like something in place. Not a plan, but they don't have anything concrete in place as a replacement.
Correct.
So that was fascinating to me. Then you have the Texans. I actually thought this was a surprisingly good season. Not that it was a good season, How about this?
Encouraging.
They played better than people expected. I mean, coming into the season, they were looked at as a total dumpster fire. The coaching changes, obviously the Deshaun Watson thing, a million different reasons, strange, dysfunctional ownership. But they played their asses off. And you and I, week after week, were giving David Culley a lot of credit. And I think he kind of got screwed out of keeping this job for at least one more season, considering how well those guys played. I mean, even down the stretch, they beat a playoff team. And then did they beat the Patriots or did they lose last few minutes?
Last few minutes.
And they played hard right down to every game. The defense,
they might have beat the Titans though, I think once.
I think they did. Yeah, they did. Yeah, they did. They improved as the season went on, and they very well accidentally may have found their starting quarterback in Davis Mills, which both you and I recognize as very fortuitous.
Yep.
They had no intentions whatsoever of playing him this year, but then they were forced to, and then they kind of pulled him out, and they're like, wait a minute, we're kind of better with this kid in here. Here's a rookie. Now go look at the rookie quarterbacks this year. You tell me which one of all the rookies this past season, which one had the most 300-yard passing games. Davis Mills had at least 3. I think he had 4 300-yard passing games. And this is a guy who ended up getting picked in the 3rd round. Okay.
And didn't start the whole way through.
And didn't play the whole season. Exactly. So it wasn't a great season by record, but this is a team that played their asses off throughout the season and looked like, I'll tell you what, there's some potential here. You know, make that Watson trade, get some more draft capital and fill some gaps, and you got a little something here. And then they went and did something utterly stupid in hiring what the hell's that guy's
name?
Lovie. I was going to say Lovie Smith. And now
might be better off.
Yeah, Cookie Smith would have been better. Cookie Smith was a good cornerback. No, I don't know. Just bizarre, just a strange, bizarre hire.
Cookie Monster was a better coach.
So we'll see what happens with that because Lovie Smith is a bad coach. So that's a step in the wrong direction. David Culley was a way better coach than Lovie Smith.
Think about it.
It's just bad. That's just a bad hire.
5 years ago, maybe not even that long ago, Texans were in the playoffs every year. Yep. And now they're a mess. They're a mess.
It's a mess. And you just hired the worst coach. And now you're going to have to stick with him at least 2 years. So that team is going to be in the shitter for 2 years. That's a mistake.
I mean, they got cap, they got money, but if you got those guys leading the organization, it doesn't matter what you got. Because you don't trust them making the right decision.
I know, exactly. Well, the one thing, if you're a Texans fan, or if you think that the AFC South is not the worst division in football, which I do not, even though Dean Dome Sports does, they have a lot of people in place in upper management that are from the New England Patriots. They have multiple people in place, scouts, the GM, all coming over from the Patriots. And like I said, if they can make a positive move with Deshaun Watson and make some nice draft picks, that thing can be turned around pretty quick. Again, if you actually do have your quarterback in place, it's just a totally different ballgame. So we'll see what happens with that. Speaking of quarterbacks, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Would you rather have Lovie Smith or Joe Judge?
Ooh, I think Joe Judge.
I agree.
Because up until those last 2 weeks, I actually thought Joe Judge was coming back, and I thought he was a pretty decent head coach.
And the back half of 2020, I thought he was getting it together out there. But
I think in those last 2 weeks, he just started doing crystal meth and just lost his mind, and everything went downhill from there. And so this is just a warning to head coaches in the NFL. Don't do crystal meth. Yeah, that doesn't work out, as you can see.
and then go to a microphone or a press conference after.
Stay away from microphones. Do a podcast this way you can edit it all out. For God's sake, bozo. God, I just want to throw away $12 million because I won't be coaching for the next 2 years.
Coaching the New York Giants.
Ugh. Stupid. Like, now I look at that and I go, I would never hire you. Moving forward, I would never hire you because you don't have control of yourself.
It's going to be close.
You couldn't control yourself. All you had to do was shut the fuck up and you would have had another season. You couldn't even control yourself saying weird shit. Speaking of doing and saying weird shit, the Jacksonville Jaguars have a new head coach this year because of their coach that was doing and saying weird shit.
And touching stuff with other people.
Palming arses. Young arses. Attractive arses, but regardless. The Jaguars, the one thing above all else that you can say they have in place, they have Trevor Lawrence, and it's a great place to start. And this is, I know I'm like messing around with Mike from Dean Dome Sports because he had said that he believes that the AFC South is actually the worst division in football, mainly because of the Texans and Jags, and both are horrible teams. And this is my point about Trevor Lawrence being on the Jags. Think about if you're Washington or if you're the Giants, or frankly, even if you're the Eagles. Wouldn't you rather be Houston or Jacksonville, knowing or at least believing that you have your quarterback in place? The Giants have questions right now. You don't know what the hell that team's going to look like. I'd rather be Houston right now than the Giants. And I'd rather be the Jags than Washington, because right now your quarterback is Carson Wentz, and you don't know what the hell. That's a total crapshoot. At least with Jacksonville, number one, it's Trevor Lawrence, who we think has the potential to be an elite quarterback in this league, and he did show glimpses last year. And number two, he's really cheap because he's still in his rookie contract, whereas Washington is paying Carson Wentz $28 million to like do what he does. So
every time you say it, it gets worse.
That was really ends up being my retort to Mike about who's worse. You can add up the records all you want, and sure, it looks like the NFC East has a better overall record, but what the hell does that mean? The best team in your conference went 6-0 against everybody else and then lost in the first round because they really aren't that good. And then Philly shouldn't even have been a playoff team, which they clearly showed once they were in the playoffs. They shouldn't even have been in that game because they barely were even on the field. And then I just look at the two last place teams and I say, so who would you rather be? Would you rather be the Texans or the Jags, or would you rather be the Giants and Washington? Yeah. Because those teams have major holes that are really, really difficult to fill. So that's why, to me, it's not even close more than anything. Then he goes into like, well, if you look historically, dude, you literally have 3 expansion teams in the AFC South. So like you can't go into historically compared to the NFC East. That's bizarre. And anyway, we weren't talking about that. We were talking about this the last couple seasons. Anyway.
Well, the Titans used to be the Oilers.
No. That's not my point. Texans and Jags are both expansion teams.
Yeah.
And even the Oilers weren't here before the Super Bowl era. I mean, he was literally counting championships before the Super Bowl. The Giants have 5 championships. Well, dude, we weren't even sperm at the time. Like, come on, we're going to start going there to judge the division? Like, give me a break. So that's a division. We'll see. I don't know. I look at this upcoming season, and it really will come down to who ends up being the Colts quarterback and how much can Tennessee hold on to, considering that they have some cap issues. What about the NFC South?
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
What do they do?
What in off season already?
What do they do at quarterback? No Tampa Bay anymore.
Do you think Bruce entertains bringing Winston in?
I can't imagine. He said some really harsh shit.
I know he did. I know. It's so hard to burn bridges, man.
They didn't even let him go yet, and he was already saying, like, well, I can't imagine him being on this team next year.
If Winston's desperate.
Well, I was going to say desperation brings out some strange things in people. That's for sure.
Look, they have the weapons. They're going to tag Godwin again. Evans is fantastic. Who knows what Gronk's going to do?
Who did Arians say is underrated as a quarterback? This guy's a really good quarterback. He just hasn't been on a good team. He's their backup.
I didn't hear that.
Oh my God. He has like that white boy country club name, like a Bryce or oh God, what the hell's his name? He went to Missouri.
Oh, the Chase Daniel.
Hey, no. Nope.
Oh.
No. Then maybe
Blake Gabbert.
Blake Gabbert. He's Gabbert's a better quarterback than anybody gives him credit for. He just has been on some bad teams. I'm like, go ahead. Go ahead and make him your starter. He's actually a big, strong arm kid.
Yeah, if he was running my farm, he'd look great. But
he can bale hay like nobody's business.
Christ.
So we'll see what happens with them. They have some cap issues too.
They had a lineman retire on them too, didn't Ali Marpet retire?
You mentioned Gronk. I don't know that Gronk is gonna be there. Yeah, thanks, Mike. We blame Gabbert. Yep, couldn't remember. I knew it was like that white boy country club. Blaine.
Hey, Montgomery.
Yeah. Have the caviar. So we'll see what Tampa Bay does. But obviously, listen, it was a great season. But you could tell, you usually with Brady, halfway through the season, there's a switch that gets turned on, and like November, December,
Yeah, it's lights
it's
out.
just, and it never really happened. They kind of had little issues here and there all the way through the season, and it kind of showed even in the playoffs, and that's how you get beat. That's how you get beat. Although, of course, even in his last game, he makes a hellacious comeback against the Rams, and if it weren't for Matt Stafford, Matt Stafford throwing a 50-yard dime.
By the way, what do you got in there, my friend? What are you drinking?
I have a little Wild Turkey 101 American Kentucky bourbon.
Beautiful. Talk about Farm Boy.
It's lovely. It's lovely.
Oh, man.
New Orleans Saints, right?
Yep. Saints. Now, another team with a lot of issues. New coach.
Serious cap issues also.
Year one without Breeze did not go well.
Hey, listen, speaking of the cap, and because New Orleans has got an issue with the cap, it only went up like 25 million and change. Are you surprised? Do you think that went up less, or is that kind of what you were expecting?
I think they're probably still
hurting from last year.
Yeah, COVID.
Yeah,
I think so.
I thought it was a little low because if you remember,
we thought it was going to jump. We thought it was going to jump more than that.
30, 40 mil. I thought so. I was having a hard time remembering what we were saying. It seemed like teams were expecting kind of 30, 40 million because if you guys remember, it went down last year because of the year before's COVID, no fans. So they didn't even stay the same. They actually went down a few million. So now, if you really think about it, from 2 years ago, the salary cap has only gone up about 10 million. Yeah. So that's I thought so too, but okay. You were saying with New Orleans.
And that's why you see some of these guys getting caught, that aren't like, oof.
Who was the guy for Seattle, the linebacker?
Bobby Wagner. Hey, I know a place where he can go.
The last guy standing from the Legion of Boom ends up getting cut. Now, I don't know if that's a money issue or if that's he's just been around getting a little longer.
I don't want to be part of the rebuild either.
Or that could be on him, too. He may have wanted out. Who knows? Absolutely. But okay, so you were saying about New Orleans. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Year one of the Breeze experiment or the Breeze refill replacement, I should say.
It was a struggle.
Yeah, I think they have four guys back there at some point. Four different guys at quarterback. They are,
and none of them were the answer.
And now they have a defensive guy leading the reins. We said this last year, dude. I think the Saints could be in trouble for a while.
Yeah, we might have been a year ahead of schedule because they were over the cap last year,
and now they're around.
And that was after Drew Brees, and now they're still over the cap, and even more over the cap, and they can't even say well, we got to get rid of Drew Brees. It's trouble. Yeah, it's trouble.
Yep.
But you know what, though,
dude? I'm sorry, real quick.
No.
The division's so bad. They're only like a couple moves. If they could figure.
Okay.
Who would you go with a quarterback? You wouldn't go with Taysom Hill, right?
Don't know. You would think if they were so sold on Jameis Winston, that would be done already.
Yeah, I agree.
Right? Not that he's a hot commodity and you got to rush into it, but you would think. It's your guy. He was your guy this year. You would think that'd be done. So I don't know. This is what's so crazy. It's just hard. New Orleans was a really good football team this year. They just didn't have a quarterback. Mm-hmm. That defense was special. That was a top 5 defense.
Especially back half. They were playing really well.
But they just, if you can't put
how much does Kamara have left? He gets pounded.
Well, you'll get Mike. What the hell's his name coming back this year? You think?
Oh, our boy Michael Thomas.
Michael Thomas should be coming back. Maybe
he took a pay cut too. I think you have to.
You gotta, right? I don't know. Listen, it sounds like it's just like a broken record, but if you don't have a quarterback, it doesn't matter. I guess I am a little surprised that they haven't pulled the trigger on Jameis Winston because I look around now and I say, well, what's better? Is Trubisky better?
You think maybe they're waiting to see how his medicals are coming off knee surgery too? I don't know.
That happened relatively early in the season.
It did.
And regardless, even if you didn't think you were going to get him the first couple games,
I know.
Ian Book? You going with Ian Book?
I am not.
You going with what's his Taysom?
Taysom Hill? I am not.
Trubisky?
So now here's a question.
Well, this is what I'm saying, right? This is why this is fun, though. Go ahead.
I know
because so many questions.
I know. I keep asking questions. We can't
that's the best part.
Teams.
It's the best part.
You got to figure Sean Payton made Taysom Hill, right? Mm-hmm. Now what does he become now?
I mean, I think in the end, what he really is just a slot receiver with gimmicks. Yeah. Yeah, he's a slot receiver with gimmicks. Speed around, speed and
Man, if I'm him,
arounds.
I think my lucky stars that I got a contract last year because I don't know what his game's going to look
Got
like.
big
now.
money too. Got good money.
Christ.
It's almost a scam when you think about it. Like he's a scam, right?
He's a Ponzi
scam
scheme.
artist. He's a Ponzi scheme. He really is, because he's not a great receiver, but he's pretty good. He's certainly not a good quarterback, but he can throw the ball, and he's nice
You
to
can
have.
throw
with
the ball
these little,
enough if you got him in a run game for 4 runs, and then you trick.
Yeah.
Dude, by the way, real quick, we're going to talk about this in a minute. The 17th at TPC is unbelievable.
Isn't it
It's
beautiful?
unbelievable. Dude, I'm shaking just watching it.
And so do the pros, and
Oh.
it's a chip shot for them. It's basically chip and putt, and
It's
they still fuck it
about
up.
45.
I know it's totally. If there was no water, they would never miss that green.
Correct.
They would never, ever,
Correct.
ever miss that.
Oh,
green.
he just rolled it in the water. Speaking of,
I think Atlanta actually overachieved this year. I give Arthur Smith
Blank.
Arthur Smith some credit. That team played hard. That defense was better, and I didn't think it would be. That defense was better than it was the year before, with Dan Quinn, the genius, because they let go of guys and still played better.
You can't kill Dan Quinn this year.
The question is, here we go again. Pete's going to talk about quarterbacks. How much longer is Matty Ice? How much longer is he the man in Atlanta? Or maybe more importantly, how much longer do they continue to rely on him in Atlanta?
2 things.
Yes.
I have written down here, mediocre all around. The Falcons are just mediocre all over the place.
I think Matt Ryan's more than mediocre, but the rest of the team is certainly mediocre. What was their record this year?
How would you feel about the Colts trading for Matt Ryan?
What are you going to give up, though? I think it's a great fit.
37 years
For
old.
the Colts, I think it's a great fit because they're a Super Bowl ready team.
2 third-round picks.
It's not enough. It's not enough. Yeah.
The Falcons' record was, I'm going to say 7-10, but I don't know if I'm right on that.
I think you might be pretty close.
I mean, I got to be close. It can't be.
Well, because they were in contention for a playoff spot until the last couple of weeks. We got there. 7-10.
Yes, sir.
God, you're so sharp with this shit.
It's amazing, isn't it?
I don't
know who sailed around the world, but I know what the fucking Falcons record was.
It's like you don't even need the little mini smart machine. You just have this stuff. It's crazy. But I actually think they overachieved. I think this was a team that a lot of people thought, new coach, Matt Ryan at the end of his string. They let some pieces go. They got rid of Julio Jones. They got rid of the safety that ended up going to Dallas. I think he went to Dallas. Right? Didn't the safety from Atlanta go to Dallas?
I'm trying to think.
I know he did.
I don't think so. I don't think he went to Dallas.
I'm pretty sure he went over there with Dan Quinn, and everybody's like, "Oh, they got that guy from Atlanta."
Allen?
I don't know. Who cares?
Yeah,
He stinks
either.
anyway.
Alrighty.
The Dallas defense is not that good, anywhere near as good as people think. Just because you got Micah Parsons, he was amazing, but the rest of the defense was shit.
Diggs was pretty good.
Yeah, he also got burned a lot.
I said pretty. I didn't call him Deion Sanders. I said pretty good.
I mean, you also agree this is the worst division in the NFL, so of course, he looked
right.
better than he actually was, right, Mike?
Dome Sports,
right, Mike? But I actually think they played better. But I really do wonder how much longer. How old did you say Matt Ryan is?
He's going to be 37. He's the same age as me.
I think he's still pretty good. I think he really still throws the shit out of the ball, but they're not ready. And they're not going to be ready by the time he's done.
Dude,
so that's what makes your idea about the Colts kind of intriguing.
Him with Jonathan Taylor?
Yes.
Oh, my.
That's actually not a terrible idea you have there. I just don't know that the Colts have the capital to make that happen. But boy,
he'll be 37 in May.
I'm ready to move off of him.
He'll be 37 in May. So you say you give me 3 years? Give me 2 years.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
No, give me 3 years. Yeah, 37, 39, and 40.
39.
He's in good shape. Matt Ryan's in good shape. He's still got a very strong arm. He's smart.
Dude, the Falcons issue was not him.
Oh, you make a good call there, man.
It was not him.
I gotta post that one. I'm gonna post that. Make it pretend that it was mine. I might steal that. You don't post that shit, so I'll make it like I had a great idea. Maybe I'll make a video and say it was my idea.
I know, but you feel guilty when you type it, and then you go, "All right, I gotta give him credit." I know your game.
I know. I get so guilty. I can't do it. I'm gonna try to steal it though. And finally, maybe the most disappointing team in this division this year was Carolina Panthers. Your boy Colin Cowherd over there on Fox Sports, he had them winning 12 games because he had a mouthful of Sam Darnold's penis. And he ended up choking on it. I heard Sam's pretty big, so maybe that's why. But
Does
also
this like-
because they
does this like
sucked.
Trojan horse? We're going off the
Yeah.
rails. First
Yeah,
show
big
back
time.
in 2 weeks. We were off the rails.
So while Cowherd was gargling Sam's penis, they were winning how many games? Did they win 6?
Yeah.
Ugh, very disappointing. I think a lot of people thought they'd at least be like a 9-win team, 9-8. Sam Darnold comes over, got some weapons, decent defense. What's maybe the most interesting thing about Carolina is when the season started, Matt Rule was considered one of the hottest, coolest, hippest, smartest, most creative coaches in the
Guilty,
league.
dude. I like them a lot. I'm
I
guilty.
agree.
Yeah.
I didn't jump off the bandwagon as much as everybody else did. By the end of the season, people were wondering if he was even going to finish the season as the head coach.
Well, they were saying if there was a college job that he was going to jump. I feel like I think his resume at Michigan somewhere in there a pile right now.
A year ago, Joe, so the offensive coordinator, what the hell is his name? Joe Brady?
Joe Brady.
A year ago, Joe Brady was getting interviews at 32 years old or 31 years old to be the head coach of the Jets or Atlanta or some of the other teams that had openings. Midway through the season this year, he's on the unemployment line, and now he's the quarterback's coach. I don't know, maybe for Buffalo? He's the quarterback's coach somewhere now. He's not even an offensive
By the way,
coordinator.
we wondered who the Buffalo Bills offensive coordinator was.
Did you find that out?
Ken Dorsey.
Oh, okay.
He's got some chops in the league. He's been
Yeah,
around for.
Yep. He's got some. He's built up quite a good reputation over the last couple of years.
Yeah, that's not a bad move actually.
You know what else Buffalo has really well? They got a good front office. They make good decisions. They're pretty smart over there. McDermott is a good head coach, even though he's a defensive head coach. He's smart enough to say, "I'm going to keep my hands off of the offense and let them do what they do." And there's smart people over there, and there wasn't for a long time in Buffalo, but right now they got some really smart people over there.
You're right.
That's
You know why? Because the owners let the guys make decisions. If you get the right ownership, stay out of the way.
Owner, and you hired a good GM, and then a GM hired a good smart GM, hired a good coach, yada yada yada. The rest falls into place.
Yep.
So I'm interested to see this year. I got a bad feeling from Matt Rule. I can't imagine he's even going to make it through the season because they haven't solved. They're not even in conversations about some of these quarterbacks. Would you, if you're them, or if you're Matt Rule, do you push for a trade for like a Deshaun Watson? Do you try to make that happen? Because otherwise, it's over.
I gotta tell you, I don't.
Or you're just so afraid of the Watson scenario.
If you're him, you gotta try to pull out whatever you can. If you're the Panthers,
you don't touch that with a 10-foot pole, right?
I would try to trade Christian McCaffrey more than I would try to sign Deshaun Watson.
You make a great point there. There's a lot of talk about trading Christian McCaffrey, and some people are like, oh, how do you trade the guy? Dude, he's missed 23 games in the last 3 seasons.
Yeah, there's no way.
He's never on the field. The guy's a phenomenal player when he plays, but he rarely plays. He only plays 2/3 of the games. And you're paying him premium dollar. Oh, by the way, the guy still gets paid when he's hurt. And you still take the cap hit. And what do we always say? The greatest skill is availability. You got to be on the field, man. You got to be on the field.
And you could say he's partly responsible for why the Sam Darnold's game went to shit.
There's an argument to be made. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Go ahead. Say it.
That's
no. When he was on the field,
Sam looked like a different player that he never had with the Jets. He never had a guy like that with the Jets.
No doubt.
There's not many of those guys in the league, but like you said, if you're not playing, you're worth shit.
It ain't worth anything. Yeah. In fact, it's a detriment.
What's he making a year? He's got to be in the 20s, right?
No, I think it's like 13. But for a running back, that's a shit ton of money. That's a ton of money. And that's $13 million for a guy who wasn't on the field.
Let me see. Hold on. Hold the phone.
Maybe
I think you're right. I think the number's probably around that.
Yeah, because Elliott is the one, Ezekiel Elliott, who's
first thing that comes up is contract.
Yeah, because he's the highest paid running back in the league right now. He plays for the Dallas Cowboys, which plays in the worst division in the NFL. And he's severely overpaid, making $15-16 million.
21.
Who's 21?
Nope, I'm lying. That's a signing bonus. I'm sorry.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I'm sorry. Hold the phone.
Come on, that's wide receiver.
Can you imagine if that was 21?
That's wide receiver. I almost lost my shit just now.
You did. It was actually kind of funny.
I was like, what?
Dude, pick up your left eyeball. Throw it on your fucking
Half my beard almost just fell off my face.
Yeah, you're right.
13?
Yeah. It's about 14.
Yeah, how do I know
weird shit? Numbers.
See, I know some of these things too.
You're divided by 4.
It's a lot of dough. And
carry the one.
Yeah, that's a guy who doesn't play. So, but you know what? We're sitting here and we know that he's hurt. Everybody else who might trade for him knows that he gets hurt a lot too. So who knows how much you get for him? But I think regardless, it's time to move on from the McCaffrey thing. And but they're still stuck because they got Cam Newton and Sam Darnold as their two quarterbacks. I don't know.
While we're in the AFC South, you want to hit Calvin Ridley real quick?
Yeah, why don't we do that? Why don't you tell everybody what happened there? This
Genius, Alabama alum. I wouldn't say graduate. Alabama alum.
Mm-hmm.
So we had talked about. I think it was Halloween-ish. He decided to opt out because of mental health. He wasn't feeling right, which
a lot of people kind of gave him credit for, right? Like stepping up. It's kind of the cool thing to do these days is like say, hey, I'm a little a mess and I need to take a step back.
But our good buddy, Mr. Eddie Desane, I don't even know if he listens anymore. If not, shame on him. But he was saying in a group text we have that, situations like this make people with real mental health problems feel shitty because like this guy takes off, quits the half of the year, and then he's betting on games. He's bet on NFL games.
Right.
And you have an app, dude. They're tracking you. Yeah. They're tracking you. It's not the old days you meet a guy behind a warehouse and you give him an envelope and a slip. Dude.
It's crazy.
What are you doing? The money doesn't matter.
Not only that.
Go ahead.
The NFL puts these guys through symposiums. They give them literature.
Yes.
They are spoken to directly and solely about the fact that you cannot bet on football games. You can bet on college football games. You can bet on NBA games.
You can bet March Madness brackets.
You can bet March Madness. You can bet hockey. You can bet MMA.
You can bet poker. You can go to a casino and play cards.
Absolutely. You cannot bet on NFL football games. And what did he do? The one thing you can't do. It's just like, I remember Deion Sanders when he was, still a commentator. And even it was Stephen A. Smith too. Now, Stephen A. Smith, so both of them were kind of saying the same thing. They were talking about guys who smoke weed in the league. And this is when the league has changed with weed smoking and stuff like that. But at the time, it was like, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear, these guys are saying, I don't want to hear that it should be legal or this and that, or you don't think it's a drug. Stay off the weed. It's a rule. Stay off the weed. Like, come on. No doubt. It's clear as crystal. You're talked to about it. Your agent talks to you about it. Your coach talks to you about it. The league talks to you about it. They give you literature. They tell you flat out, can't do this. And then what do? They smoke the weed. So now and they get suspended. They're like, oh, it's ridiculous. No, this was made as crystal clear as possible.
To play devil's advocate here a little bit, I know what you're going to say, but I have to ask you the question. Do you think at all, even a little bit, the NFL is a little hypocritical here? That Why? they advertise the shit at gambling now?
No, I don't.
I agree with you. I had to ask you the question.
I would if Roger Goodell was betting on football games. I would and didn't get in trouble. I would if Robert Kraft was betting on football games and didn't get in trouble.
Yes.
I have to assume that those guys aren't allowed to bet on football games either.
And that's why the Stephen Ross thing is such a big deal.
What's the Stephen Ross thing?
If he's paying coaches to lose games.
Sure. Yes. And we'll see what happens with that because I don't want to comment on something that I don't like comment on something that I don't have any facts on.
I hear you.
So that's why that's a little weird. If he really, again, I don't know if that was tongue in cheek. Okay, so real quick, just so for those who are listening, he's the owner of the Miami Dolphins, and who's the coach?
Brian Flores.
Brian Flores is claiming that the owner said, "I'll pay $100,000 for each game that you lose because we're trying to tank." That's the kind of statement I could totally see being a joke, kind of being a tongue-in-cheek, like, hey, we're tanking for Tua. Nobody had any problem with them saying that they were tanking for Tua, but if it's $100,000 involved, and I agree, that's a problem. I just don't know if that was tongue-in-cheek, and that's why I'm saying I don't want to comment because I don't really know if that was real or if it wasn't. Regardless, that would be a problem. Yeah, that's a goddamn problem if you're actually going to pay for losses because that's not what the league is about, okay? But no, the league isn't hypocritical because it's just like college basketball. You can bet on college basketball. Players can't bet on college basketball. It's not hypocritical. You can bet on NBA games. Players can't bet on NBA games. So it's and it's not ambiguous. This is not like a and oh, by the way, all of these fuckers have heard or somewhere down the line of Pete Rose, who is a Hall of Fame baseball player who can't find his way into the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame because he bet on baseball games. This is like it's not the Holy Grail. It's like the opposite of the Holy Grail. Like, this is the one place you can't go.
Yep.
Okay. Like, you can't go here as an athlete. You can't get into the realm of the thought, the notion, the whisper of tainted games. You can't.
I was just going to bring that up. So now, do you think 1 year is enough?
I think I'm okay with that. And so now maybe I'm going to be a hypocrite now. I'm okay with that because of the fact that the league and all these leagues now promote gambling so much. You have to make an example. And let's be honest, dude, taking away an entire season from a guy, that's no bullshit. And I think that's going to be unpaid.
$11 million. Off
it's $11 million. And it's a year off of his life, a year off of, his career. So I think that's severe enough. And if I'm going to be fair, I think Pete Rose should be in the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame because I think he's paid his price.
I agree.
So I think a year is definitely paying enough of a price. I think the message will have been sent. I don't think he'll ever even be on a gambling site for the rest of his career. So and that's what you want. We want to know.
I wouldn't take that bet.
You really think so? Dude, I wouldn't even have the app on my phone after that happened. I'm just saying. That's just me. That's just me. I don't disagree. I don't disagree. They get trouble at strip clubs. A week later, they're at a strip club. I totally understand.
Oh, I'm there for the wings. Yeah, okay.
Yes.
I'm there for the wings. Yeah.
Some strip clubs have some of the best wings you've ever had in your life.
Dude, bar pies,
let's be honest.
Listen, from what I hear, they
want you to stick around. Yeah, they want you to stick around. That's totally rumor. It's totally rumor.
Rumor. I'm there for the lighting.
We had some other NFL news. The Cowboys are on the brink. If they haven't done it already, they're on the brink of cutting Amari Cooper, who I think most people would consider as their number one receiver. Would you consider him their number one receiver? I would not
anymore. I would put CeeDee Lamb number one. I'd put Cooper number two.
Yeah, I think at this point I agree with you. He probably was their number one receiver coming into the season. The problem is he's going to be making about $22 million.
Correct. Did you hear the little altercation that happened with the?
No, tell me all about it.
Oh, I love doing this. I love breaking news to you.
I love it. Yeah.
So supposedly after the Cowboys lost to the Niners in the divisional round, Cooper stood up and called Dak the Black Kirk Cousins.
Oh, black on black crime.
And that didn't go over well with Mr. Prescott.
No way.
As you would expect.
I can't imagine why. Kirk Cousins is pretty good though.
He had a really good year.
He really did. Underrated.
He had a really good year.
30-something touchdowns.
I tell you, we talked about this. We talked about this ad nauseum, dude. Their defense let them down this year.
Could you imagine Kirk Cousins on the Cowboys? They'd be even better. He's better than Dak. Be honest. He's better than Dak. He's better than Dak.
I want to see Dak year 2 after the surgery.
Amari wants to go to. Imagine Amari Cooper goes to the Vikings.
Would that be amazing? Would that be amazing? See, that's why you can't burn bridges, dude. Like, you don't know where you go.
And he'd be over there like, oh, my God, Kirk is so much better than Dak.
You're the white moon. Oh, my God. It's crazy.
I didn't know that. I didn't hear that was said. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a harsh statement.
It was quietly kept, but.
That's a harsh statement. That would be so funny, though. That would remind me of like when Jared Goff got traded to Detroit. And then there was a defensive lineman for the Rams who made some kind of comment like "good riddance" or
it wasn't Aaron Donald. It was
another guy.
What the fuck was his name?
But then he ended up being part of the trade.
Yeah, yeah.
I can't remember who it was. It doesn't matter. But that's what I'm thinking. Yeah. I'm like, wow, you're gonna be like you're
Michael Brockers or something like that, right?
Like play with Kirk Cousins. Yeah, that'd be hilarious.
That's tremendous.
By the way, it wouldn't be a bad fit. Amari Cooper on Vikings. Wow,
they got Thielen and
Jefferson. I know, but you imagine the three of them on the field at the same time if you can get them on the cheap.
Let's get a pass rusher there for Christ's sake.
I'm just saying it would be fun. That'd be fun.
All right, Mr. Salary Cap.
That'd be fun though. Listen, they're going to cut him.
Listen,
so Vikings can pay him whatever they want,
and they would definitely give the Packers a pain in the ass.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. That'd be kind of fun. You think Kirk Cousins would like that? He'd be like, dude, you can call me Dak. You can call me Kirk. I don't care what you call me. Just get over here.
You call me Kurt, whatever you want. You want to hit on Mitch and Jimmy G real quick?
Yeah, let's do this because I find this fascinating. You know, the big talk early in the week before the bigger talk of Wilson and Rodgers doing their thing was that Mitch Trubisky Yeah, that Mitch Trubisky, the one that the Bears couldn't get off of fast enough, whose basic claim to fame this past season was the fact that he played behind Josh Allen, learned from Brian Dable, who's now the head coach of the Giants, and had a 300-yard passing game in the preseason. That's basically what he has done.
That's what his year was.
That's basically what he did since being a Bear. And now he's like I can't even believe I'm going to say this out loud. He is the hottest commodity right now. Outside of guys who are already on a team, he's the hottest commodity in the quarterback free agent market. And I mean, like, there's a really good chance he's going to get somewhere between 15 and 20 million a year, likely.
So Dable had to be thinking, man, if I can bring him over, at least maybe push Jones. If I have a good backup, if he goes down, I think that's out. I think that's no way they're going to be able to afford that guy now.
The price has totally gone up. As we were talking before about the Colts. Okay, so let me just say this about you were playing devil's advocate before. I'm going to play devil's advocate now.
Please.
Look at the Bears this past season. What'd they win? 5 games? 4 games? 5 games?
It had to be 5 or 6 because the Giants have their pick and it's number 7.
Yeah.
So it's
and they were jerking off all over themselves by the fact that they got Justin Fields, right?
We're so
Andy
right
Dalton.
on him.
Let us not forget. We can say we want about Trubisky and he never put up monster numbers, but let us not forget that with him at quarterback and Nagy as the head coach, they went to the playoffs 2 out of 4 years. They were a playoff team 2 out of 4 years, and 2 years ago, they actually hung tough the entire game with the New Orleans Saints, who we thought at the time were a Super Bowl contender and had Tampa Bay beat before Tampa Bay did what Tom does.
Yep.
Okay. They were toe to toe. The Bears with Trubisky were toe to toe with the New Orleans Saints. I don't think he's great. And I don't think he was great with the Bears.
That's it right there.
But maybe he wasn't as bad as everybody thought he was. Maybe that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Maybe he wasn't quite as bad as everybody thinks he was. So, and I guess that's what we're looking at now. Like he's really the guy. Now he's not going to command 40 million like some of the top guys are. But the fact that he's even in line to make 20 million is bananas to me. I'm blown away by this. Mitch Trubisky.
Saints, Steelers, Colts,
Giants.
They're
on the board with him. Hey, maybe Seattle's even considering him.
Yep.
Right? They have no quarterback.
Holy smokes, man.
New Orleans, Carolina. Could you say Carolina's thinking about it?
Definitely. Now, if you're
the Steelers,
if you're Pittsburgh, do you go him over Rudolph?
I think they're like the same guy.
I do too. That's why I don't know if I would do that.
Trubisky's definitely more mobile. I think Rudolph is smarter. Like he's a better decision maker.
But he's not electric at all, though. They're so boring when. Wow, Pittsburgh has got some.
They got issues
to make, man.
We'll get to that in another week or so. But
yeah, we will. Wow.
But Mitch Trubisky, I think the most fascinating part of the Mitch Trubisky story is that it's Mitch Trubisky. That's what I'm blown on. The fact that we're even like, where's Mitch Trubisky gonna go?
I know.
Like what?
I know.
A year ago, we didn't even know if there was a team in the league that would sign him as a backup. And now he's on the brink of making like north of 20 million.
He's going to be on the New Jersey Generals, right?
By the way, when this whole conversation started about Mitch Trubisky, this was like midweek last week. They were talking about him making somewhere in the range of 10 to 12 million. By the weekend, it was 15. By the beginning of this week, it was 20.
Oh my God.
Like, you talk about, this is what I mean with the Commanders, Washington, being desperate. This is what desperation looks like when it's a position like quarterback. Is there a position in all of sports that creates such desperation like it does with the quarterback in the NFL?
No.
It really isn't.
Nope.
There really isn't. There's nothing like it. Not even in college football. Because we've seen teams like Wisconsin have very average quarterbacks win 10, 11, 12 games.
Dude, there's nothing that special about the Georgia quarterback this year. Guy just went.
Right?
Can't tell you his name off the top of my head. I'm
JT Daniels?
No, that's the backup.
Right. That's right. He's not even the goddamn
Sex.
Did you say sex?
Sexton? No.
No.
See?
No.
That's my point.
Yeah, he doesn't even matter. And they won the championship.
Doesn't he? And he smoked Michigan, and I don't remember his goddamn name.
But in the NFL, it's everything. It's everything to the point
Hold on,
that
what the
Mitch
fuck is this guy's name?
Trubisky is on the board of at least a half a dozen teams that we're aware of that we can even mention. And that's
I got
just
it.
off the top of our heads. What the hell is his name?
Stenson Bennett.
That's not even a real name. He's in the White Boy Country Club
he's
too.
yeah, he's in the
He's
Blaine
right there
Gabbert.
with Bryce and Blaine. Oh, unbelievable, dude. Which leads us to Jimmy G, right? So, of course, Jimmy G, who technically is still signed with San Francisco, there has been no chatter, but this is kind of the San Francisco way. This is kind of the Shanahan way. You don't hear anything until something actually happens. They never give any clues. And I guess you could put Lynch into this also because he's
and they also like smoke screened us with Mac Jones last year.
Absolutely, this is what I mean. Like you think you know, but you don't know. Whatever they're doing, you don't know. So they tend to keep things really quiet. I think Jimmy G is almost, well, come on. He's got to be a better commodity than Mitch Trubisky, but the difference is Mitch, you're just giving up cash. With Jimmy G, you're going to have to give up draft picks.
Yeah. Yep.
So when we talk about, let's look at some of these teams that we even mentioned. What about the Colts? What's a better fit? Is Trubisky a better fit or is Jimmy G a better fit?
I would say Jimmy G.
Yeah, because he's coming from a team that ran like 75% play action pass. And what do the Colts do really well? They run the ball and they want to run play action off of that. Right? So Jimmy G's a good fit there. Whereas like maybe something like Pittsburgh, Trubisky might be a better fit because they want someone mobile. They're in shotgun most of the time. You know, he might be a better fit with Pittsburgh. You know what I'm saying? Or even New Orleans because they're not exactly known.
Bigger guy.
Yeah. So, but this is what it comes down to. As soon as was it the Carson Wentz move or was it the Russell Wilson move? I think it was once Carson Wentz got traded, it was like, okay, now what happens with Jimmy G? Because now the market just changed, right? Everything just changed, and you're like, oh shit! Now the Colts are a play. You know, now New Orleans. What do they want to do?
I don't see Seattle being in play for Jimmy G because I don't think they want him in the same division.
Well, that would never happen. They're not going to do that in the same division. No.
I'm just saying.
No, but Trubisky is a play for Seattle.
Oh,
Trubisky's definitely a play for Seattle.
Jameis Winston might be a play in Seattle too.
You know, I would say no, only because there's the one thing that Pete Carroll hates more than anything is turnovers. Defensive coach, right? Don't make mistakes.
But he can get that ball downfield with Metcalf and Lockett.
That is a fact.
God damn.
That is a fact. If there's one thing that Jameis Winston does really well, it's push the ball down the field.
Man.
It's push the ball down the field. So it's not outrageous.
Dude, this next couple of weeks, bro.
It's the best. No, it's the best. It's totally the best. It's totally the best. All right, we've had enough football for today, right? We're an hour and 20 in, and that's
enough football for me.
Coach K.
Oh
Coach
no!
Krzyzewski?
Oh, what a sad swan song.
Are you happy with that? Or are you not happy with that?
I had a little cash on the Tar Heels, so I am
okay.
However, I had them with the points. I didn't think they'd win, but all day long, it's gonna be a bloodbath. Oh yeah, because Carolina is gonna let you roll the balls on the floor and let you embarrass us. Yeah, that's what they're gonna do.
Mikey Noviola probably has a pile of Kleenex around his bed still, wiping tears because Coach K. If you were under a rock, then you didn't know that Coach Krzyzewski was coaching his last game at the on Coach K Court over there in what the hell's the name of that arena?
That would be Cameron Indoor
Stadium, yeah. And they played Carolina, of course, and end up losing the game. And Coach K comes on the mic. I thought this was fabulous, by the way. It comes on the mic and basically apologizes for
and then it kind of yells at the fans, too.
Yeah, he's like, no, shut up. Dude, can you imagine 15,000 people getting quieter any faster, by the way? That was crazy. He's like, no, stop talking.
Grandpa's here. Let's shut up.
Yep, they just 15,000 people just shut the hell up instantaneously. Let me just say this. Like Duke, don't like Duke. That's your business. I'm not here to tell you who you should root for or don't root for. But believe me when I say this, Coach Krzyzewski and Duke Blue Devils basketball made college basketball over the last 20, 30 years. Okay, really probably 30 years. Maybe he's been there longer than that, but the last 30 years specifically made college basketball. They're the Yankees. They're the Lakers. They're the Patriots. They're the team that you either love or you hate. There's no in between. Nobody has no opinion on Duke. You either really, really like him or you really, really hate him. I have family and friends who are both.
Yep.
Okay. You either really like the Yankees or you hate the Yankees. There's no in between. Because nobody doesn't know Duke. Nobody doesn't know the Yankees. Nobody doesn't know the Lakers. Nobody doesn't know the Patriots when Tom Brady was there. Okay. So this is what I said about Tom Brady when he retired. When everybody says, oh, thank God Tom Brady's gone. You're making a massive mistake. You're making a huge mistake. Because when Duke is irrelevant 2 years from now, you're going to say, I don't understand. What happened to Duke? They're never around. The tournament isn't even interesting. It doesn't feel the same without Duke. Well, you're the dumbass who thought, thank God Coach K is gone because fuck Duke. Well, guess what? You're going to miss him, dude. You're going to miss him. And college basketball will miss him and Duke will be irrelevant in 2 years.
Big time.
You're going to miss him. Trust me when I tell you.
So, little backstory. My uncle went to Duke. He was a All-American football and baseball player, was in the Cardinals organization, got drafted. So in 1999, we were down there and we got a tour. Me and my dad, he took us around Duke. The barbers still knew who he was at Duke. That's how, like, it was so cool, like being around like royalty down there. So so he took us. Camera was open, walked right in. That's the South for you. And also before 9/11.
Sure.
It was summer of. It was the week after Duke lost in a national title game to UConn.
Oh.
They had like Trajan Langdon and Boozer and Battier, like team was loaded, and I'm like, it just feels like weird, like being here. Like after they just lost, it's like no one's around. But I got pictures and like a pitch black, but like with a couple spotlights on the floor.
Yeah,
and like, dude, it's like one of those like stadiums where you're like, wow, this is just, it feels kind of. That was 27 years ago.
Right on top the court.
I'm like, this is where they play the games because it looked like a big high school gym.
Yes, yeah.
Like I don't know if you're familiar with Wallkill Valley High School by Crystal Springs.
Uh-huh.
It's a huge high school because it's like 3 or 4 like towns or whatever go there.
Yeah.
It's got like the stands all the way around. It's like double layered, and that's what Duke looks like. I'm like, this looks like a big.
It's small. It's small
because Duke wasn't always a powerhouse. So when they built that gym,
right.
That's what makes
but then it became quaint.
It makes exactly.
Yep, exactly.
But yeah, I'll miss him. Just as a sports fan,
yes.
I have nothing against Duke. I have nothing against him. But yeah,
I get the hate. I get the hate because they won all the time. They got national championship. Christian Laettner was as polarizing a player as there's probably been in college basketball in my lifetime. Like he was such a prick, but yet he was really good and a fucking winner. Like there's nothing worse than a winner who's a douchebag at the douchebag academy. Like it was the greatest thing ever, right? So I get it. And that's fun. Don't get me wrong. I like the fact that lots of people hate Duke. That's what's great. Like when you have these teams that you hate and then other people love, that's what makes sporting events fantastic.
You're right.
If it's all just nice guys, remember what we used to say when like San Antonio Spurs would make the finals? It was like, oh, the big, they're just so fundamental. Oh, good. That sounds exciting, right? It was always like yawn, like it's San Antonio, like
right on your point. What you're saying is, I remember Charles Barkley going, "Oh, great! Now I have to watch Big Fundamental, and I got to go to San Antonio. That's a lot of fun."
Yeah, sounds awesome. Or do you want Duke versus North Carolina? You want Duke versus UNLV with
Duke, Michigan, Fab Five?
Yeah, come on, man. This is great stuff. So, I don't think there's so many people that are like good riddance to Coach K as there was to Tom Brady. But I'm just telling you right now, you're gonna miss him. You're gonna miss him because you need the greatness and you also need the villain. Trust me when I tell you, that's what makes sports great. You need the villain.
You honestly think Jon Scheyer is going to fall on his face pretty quick?
He can't live up to it. There's an old saying, you don't want to be the guy that follows the guy.
That's
okay.
9 out of 10 times fact.
He can't be Coach Krzyzewski. He can't be Mike Krzyzewski. So he's going to fail regardless.
That's why Mac Jones is such in a perfect spot. You're not the guy following the guy. You're the guy following the guy that followed the guy.
Cam Newton did you a favor. Yeah, you should give him a quick hand job just to say thank you.
Ugh,
Maybe he did already. Maybe
that wild turkey's hitting different today.
I'll just say this. I'll say congratulations to Coach K.
Yeah.
Arguably the greatest coach. John Wooden, it's hard to pass him up, but certainly one of, if not the greatest, Olympic gold medals, stayed at the same school, had multiple offers. I know Kobe Bryant wanted him to come to the Lakers, and he said, nah, this is what I do. somehow kept black hair, not a gray hair on that head all this
Yeah.
time.
There's-
Amazing, especially as you
there's
look at my
something
white
fishy
beard.
going on there. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe there's some color going on, but I can't blame the guy. Congratulations, good for you. Enjoy retirement, and I hope it's everything that you want it to be for sure. You deserve it. Deserve it.
You want to go to the great sport called golf?
I do. Let me just say this. We were going to talk about the Arnold Palmer Invitational. First of all, it's a very cool tournament. I love the fact that they make that course tough to play for the players.
It's built like a U.S. Open.
I love it. I love it. And guess what? You got to play well to win it. It's Arnold Palmer's tournament, dude. You shouldn't be 20 under. Okay. It should be hard. And it was. And it actually got more difficult as the weekend went on.
It sure did. And as the day went on.
Yes. And I'm going to pat myself on the back a little bit here. I told you guys, just all you have to do is listen to this goddamn podcast and you will know between Scotty's stats and numbers and names and all that kind of stuff and my insight, you will know, and that's all I got is insight. I got no numbers. I got no stats. I got no names. I rely on you for all the important stuff. I just got some insight. I just show up and tell you my opinion. I told you guys, Scotty Scheffler. I told you a few months ago. I said, this is not going to be the only time that he wins. Get used to seeing this guy. He showed out at the Ryder Cup. He kicked some serious ass against real competition at the Ryder Cup. No wiggle. Okay, there was no wiggle, no shaky hands, no nothing. The guy busted ass. And I don't mean he farted. Okay, he kicked some serious ass at the Ryder Cup under the toughest of pressure. Won a few weeks ago, and I told you, keep your eye on this guy. He's the real deal. He's got as complete a game as there is in golf right now, and he showed that again this past weekend.
Although he has a personality of an index card, but
he's not exactly an exciting fella.
You want a little bit more with golf.
Just watch the golf. Yeah, just watch the golf. Yeah.
I tell you, this is
the personality of an index card.
He held off Victor Hovland, Billy Horschel, and Gary Woodland. They were all trying to make runs at different times.
Woodland blew up. Woodland blew up too.
Oh, dude, 16 and 17. Jesus.
He blew up.
So I was going to say, too, about the course playing tough. The greens were like glass tables, and the sand traps are placed perfectly. Beautiful. Woodland got caught in two of those things he couldn't get out of.
A gorgeous course, man. It's you're right. It really everything was set up perfectly. It was really set up like a U.S. Open. I just personally, I like that. You're supposed to be I don't care if at the Travelers it's like 27 under or whatever the hell they end up doing. But if it's Jack's tournament, if it's Arnold Palmer's tournament, if it's a major,
any of the majors,
Players Championship, like some of these, I'm trying to think of what did they do with the World Golf Classic, the World Golf Championships, or World Golf, whatever the hell they do.
Yeah,
I want them to be harder because they matter a little more. They're not majors, but they shouldn't be. They shouldn't just be throwing darts. It should be a little more difficult. So,
100% agree.
It was good. It was great. It was great to watch. It was good golf. It was good golf.
And I think deep down, especially me and you that are avid golfers, it's nice once in a while seeing these guys struggle a little bit.
Absolutely.
It makes you feel a little bit.
Yes.
Okay.
You know what? I actually think it endears players to us because it humanizes them a little bit.
Well, why do you think Phil's been such a fan favorite forever? Until his recent stunt 2 weeks ago. But
it's the fuck ups as much as the great play that makes
John Daly.
Special. Yes, absolutely. No, it totally does. And that's why I think people love the US Open so much. And frankly, the Masters when it's tough. You never know from year to year with the Masters because of weather, whether or not it's going to be tough or not. But when it is, we love it because it's like, yeah, I get that. I get how hard that is. I get how hard it is to hold the green for much different reasons for us. It's not for the same reasons.
Correct.
But I get it. Oh, it does suck when you can't hold the green, right? Oh, it does suck when you end up in the thick stuff. You
skull fuck a chip that goes 17 feet past the hole.
And I will say this. I think the PGA Tour in general, the PGA organization in general, needs to consider the fact that these guys hit the ball long as shit. And they look at it as I'd rather hit it 350 in the rough than 300 in the fairway.
Yeah.
If that's how they're thinking, then you need to make the rough a penalty. You need to make it difficult to hit out of the rough. And then they might not do that anymore. And then you won't have to continually make these courses insanely long.
Yeah, because at some point you're going to run out of real estate. I mean, let's be realistic.
So it should the idea of the fairway is to hit it in the fairway. So it's easy. It's a very easy correction to say, make the rough really rough and make it kind of a penalty and then they'll be forced to keep it in the fairway.
I have breaking news.
Go ahead, please.
And my breaking news just went away.
I have some breaking news while you're waiting.
Six-time Pro Bowler.
Go ahead. No, you go. No, you go. No.
Six-time Pro Bowler Khalil Mack
Traded.
returns to the AFC West and goes to the Los Angeles Chargers.
The Chargers? What, they made a trade for him?
Yes, they did.
Wow. Does it say what's involved?
Let's see.
That's big.
A pair of draft picks. That's all I have at the moment.
Okay. By the way, Chicago got nothing for making that trade.
Nothing.
They got nothing out of that.
And the Raiders didn't either. Let's be fair.
No, you know why? Because they were a bad, poorly run organization. They made bad draft. Although they did get was it Jacobs? Is that who I'm thinking?
Josh Jacobs. Yeah, that's
Jacobs.
True. Out of one of the picks. Yeah, that's true.
And they still have him, so at least he's still remaining. No, my breaking news, and this came from Dean Dome Sports via Jeff Passan.
Jeff Passan.
Yeah, I like saying Passan. Sounds more special.
Sounds exotic.
Passan sounds so blah, but Passan sounds like he's a really smart guy. And he broke this. Breaking news, Major League Baseball and the Major League Baseball's Player Association have reached a tentative agreement on a new labor deal per ESPN. Hasn't been ratified, but it looks like it'll be done. So we will have baseball this year. Mike from Dean Dome Sports and Jeff Passan, also known as Passan. Thank you for the update. Good news, of course. We want baseball. The two things you need in the summer, you need golf, you need baseball, because of what the hell else is there if you don't have that? So,
correct.
There's no good reason they shouldn't have been able to come to an agreement, and I'm glad they did. I don't know why the size of the bases was such a big deal. I don't know what they're doing with the shift. Maybe we'll talk about the shift thing next week. I have a very strong opinion on that. Illegalizing. I don't know. Is that a word? Did I just make that up?
I like it, though, if you did.
Illegalizing. Yeah, it's official. They illegalized the well, I don't know if they were talking about making it illegal to do a shift.
Yeah, I don't know what's official, what's not yet. The DH, universal DH, all that shit's on the table. So
interesting.
We'll see.
Let's get back to the golf real quick. This week we had the Players Championship, which the players look at very much as the fifth major of the season.
Yep.
It'll most likely, other than the majors, but even better than some of the majors, it'll be the best field that you'll see all season.
The unofficial fifth major.
Yep. If you're a player, you're there. Like, it's just as simple as that. And it is a fantastic tournament. What's fascinating about this to me is I believe Ricky Fowler is not playing in this.
It's amazing. His game is
didn't
gone.
Qualify. I think it was like 4 years ago he won the goddamn thing.
Yep.
And now he has fallen so far that not only he's not at the Players, which he won 4 years ago, he hasn't qualified for the Masters. It's not that long ago that Ricky Fowler was the only guy who was top 5 in every major 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't win any of them, but he was top 5 in all 4 of them.
That was like 3 years ago.
It was like 3 years ago. I'm not talking 10 years ago.
No.
It was 3 or 4 years ago. It might have been it might have been 5 years ago, because I think it was the year before he won the Players, because the year he won the Players, he was criticized for being like the best player that didn't have a major. And so he was called like the most overrated player in golf. And then he went and won the Players. And it was kind of like a little FU to because it was the Players who called him the most overrated player.
Yeah.
So the year before he had come in top 5 in all 4 majors, but didn't win any of them. And that was kind of his thing. Like, he's always there, but not good enough to win it. And then he won the Players. And frankly, since then, it hasn't been good. It hasn't been good.
He's doing a lot more commercials than he's doing playing golf or playing competitive golf, at least I should say.
Tried to grow the mustache back. That's not doing it. It's a terrible mustache.
Yeah, what a collapse. Good warm-up tournament, too, before the Masters gets underway. And I mentioned before the 17th hole is must-see TV.
It's incredible.
It's
how long is that hole? How long is that hole?
About $1.45.
So if you're listening to this at home, if you get to watch this, 145 yards for a professional golfer on a PGA Tour, this is a chip shot.
It's a wedge.
This is as close to just throwing a golf ball as there comes. And if there was no water, it's the island green. You'll see it. It's an island green. It's totally surrounded other than a strip to walk onto the hole. If there was no water, not a single one of these guys would ever miss the green. Not one of them. They would never miss the green. But because there's water and it gets in their heads, and there's more fans at this one hole. It's kind of like the stadium green over at Waste Management, Phoenix Open. There's so many people, there's so many eyes, and there's so much water that it can't help but get in your head. And the fact that any of these guys hit the ball in the water is actually crazy because it's a chip shot for them. It's nothing, but it does happen. And it's already, it happened just as we started to record this show. You're like, oh my God, somebody just went in the water.
It hits the green and rolls backwards, and he triple bogeyed the hole.
Just like that. So
he was in the lead. That's why it's great, because it could screw up your whole tournament.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's late in the round. What is it, the 16th or 17th?
17th.
Yeah, 17th. So it's huge. It's so easy, and it ends up being vital. And we just mentioned Ricky Fowler. When he won it that year, he ended up winning it going to extra holes, and he was throwing darts at that thing. And on Sunday, you'll see it's in, if you're the player facing the hole, it's in the, we'll call it 4 o'clock. It's like the front right corner. It's tucked, and it's a tough spot. And he was just dropping bombs on this thing and ended up winning a tournament, because of that hole.
Yep.
So definitely worth watching this weekend, Players Championship. It's a great one. If there's a golfer that you like, he's going to be there. Unless his name is Tiger Woods, he'll be that guy will be there because they're all there. It's their championship. So
that's all I got, bud.
I think that's it. Yeah, I think that's it. We made it. Listen, we did it under 2 hours. It's a miracle.
Beautiful.
It could have been about 7 hours, but we did our best to keep it under control.
We nipped and tucked some stuff on
it. And we kind of shortchanged a couple things, but that's okay. People don't have 17 hours to listen to us babble. 58 in the books. What do you got?
I got number 5, 6-time All-Star, 2007 World Series champ. I don't like him very much. Neither do you. Red Sox and Philly closer Jonathan Papelbon.
Fuck that guy.
Number 4, I think this guy is very underrated. 2-time Super Bowl champ. 1987 All-Pro, a 1980 All-Decade team, Giants and Browns linebacker Carl Banks.
Oh, he was really good, yeah.
1989 Rookie of the Year, 3-time All-Pro, 9-time Pro Bowler. Left us too soon. Rest in peace. Chiefs linebacker Derek Thomas.
Always sad, yeah. He was fantastic, dude. That's the closest guy I've ever seen to Lawrence Taylor. Like he was as Lawrence Taylor as there gets to being Lawrence Taylor.
And I think he passed away at like 32.
He was
31,
young,
so we had a couple years to go. And
yep.
Number 2, 4-time Super Bowl champ, 6-time All-Pro, 9-time Pro Bowler, 1970s and 1980s All-Decade team, Steelers Hall of Fame maniac Jack Lambert.
Indeed.
And number 1, 2-time Super Bowl champ, Super Bowl 50 MVP, 2011 Rookie of the Year, 3-time All-Pro, 8-time Pro Bowler, 2010 All-Decade team, future Hall of Famer, and hopefully once again future linebacker Denver Bronco and Ram Von Miller.
Yeah, very good. I know he wants to come back, doesn't he?
He does.
It's interesting. You just won a Super Bowl and you're already ready to go back, or is it because of Russell Wilson's there now? But he said that before the Wilson trade happened, so he really did want to go back. I don't know if you knew this. This is something that I found very fascinating. So I think you're going to learn something here. The minimum wind speed for a storm to be declared a severe thunderstorm, and I think that's in gusts, is 58 miles an hour.
Wow.
I have to have gusts a minimum of 58 miles an hour for
that's
it
a strange number, isn't it?
Yeah, isn't it? Yeah, but that's the truth. I don't lie. The lowest, speaking of the PGA, the lowest score ever in a PGA event, what was it? 58. Do you know by who?
Was it recent?
It was in the last 5 years.
Yeah, I think I do know who. Wait.
A guy who blew the U.S. Open one year. He had it won and he blew. He duck hooked one into the woods. Jim
Furyk.
He shot a 58 at the Travelers. It's definitely within like the last 5 or 6 years. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I remember that number. I think so. I think Louis Oosthuizen put up a 59. I think he.
Yeah. If I'm not mistaken, Furyk was like, he did it like by 17 holes, and I think he parred the 18th. Like it was a crazy round. Yeah, it was a crazy round. I think at one point he had like 7 or 8 straight birdies.
Dude, that's such a crazy number. We play golf with some guys, the two of us, that probably do that in the front.
Oh my God, yeah, easily.
like it's crazy.
No problem. Yeah, yeah. But 6 packs by the first 9 holes. Yeah, you got a 58. 58. What are you crazy? It was definitely like a 56. Most points ever scored in a fourth quarter in an NBA basketball game. Do you have any idea who this one is? You don't have any idea because
Klay
it was
Thompson?
The Buffalo Braves in 1972. They scored 58 points in the fourth quarter of a basketball game. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, in 1972, they were still using like a peach basket. That was a while ago. And finally, do you watch SpongeBob?
I don't.
You don't. Well, for you SpongeBob fans out there, you might know this. I didn't know this because I don't watch SpongeBob, but you might know this. The character whose name is Patrick. I think Patrick is like the purple triangle thing.
He's the starfish, is it?
Maybe he's a starfish, close to a triangle.
Right.
It's like 2 triangles.
Jesus.
Don't ruin it. All right, Patrick, he's a starfish. I knew he was a starfish. He's purple. I knew he was purple. I think he's purple or he's pink. Anyway, Patrick claims that the luckiest number ever is 58. How about that? And I don't think that's an accident. I think he might be right because I think this is like one of the best episodes that we've had in quite some time.
You know what? It was pretty good.
It was great. I feel really lucky. Good. I feel lucky just haven't been able to do it.
Honored and blessed, my friend.
Oh, it doesn't get much. I'm so blessed.
What a pleasure.
Blessed. We made it.
Good to be back.
Well done. Enjoy the rest of your week. I'm sure you're gonna be celebrating all weekend. Do you already have your Russell Wilson jersey on order?
So this funny. It's the same number. It happens to be Locke's jersey, so it's the same thing.
Is he Russell Wilson's number 3? Yeah. Oh, they shipped the guy out of there just for his number. Oh my god, we think so little of you. We're just trading you so that we don't have to deal with the number bullshit. That's good Lord in heaven.
Tremendous.
That'll do something to your ego. Oh, for God's
sake. Listen, him, Carson Wentz, and Ricky Fowler could get a package deal at a sports therapist.
Yeah, they're free this weekend. Oh my God. For Scott Bracey, I'm Pete Colasano. You've been listening to Bump and Run. And I'm pretty sure we're going to catch you guys next week.
Later.
Oh my goodness gracious.
What an episode, dude.
They shipped the poor bastard out because he had the wrong number. Hey, we'll take Teddy Bridgewater. Listen, can we give you Locke because he's 3 and Russ is coming in and we don't want to get into it? Give us Locke.
We don't want to start off on our wrong foot here.
Oh my goodness. I didn't realize that. Dude, are you going to go in the back and just like cut the letters off a Locke? And like,
I might, for the summer, I might just electrical tape on me.
Oh shit. That's great. Oh my God. That's funny. Oh, that was good stuff, man. I enjoyed that.
Awesome, dude.
That's fun. Cool. And we'll see what happens over the next week, right?
It's going to be fun.
I should have no problem getting this out tonight. So
okay, fantastic.
I got a couple things to do, but I'm going to get to it pretty quick.
No problem, bro. Thank you, sir.